Greetings, all you infected out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm coming at you with another review of IDW's Sonic the Hedgehog. This is issue 20, Crisis City Part 2. In the last issue, Sonic was desperately trying to save Sunset City, along with the help of Team Dark. However, Shadow, who had become fairly angry at Sonic's actions in trying to keep Eggman mostly alive when he was the Tinkerer, acted a little bit rash. However, that's kind of been Sonic's, Shadow's personality in terms of like later games. And I feel that mostly Ian was trying to draw from the fact that in more recent games, in stuff like, Shadows hasn't really been in too much, honestly, but, he's drawing upon some more recent stuff like in Free Riders and the like, because Shadow's personality kind of seemed to regress in that game, and he pointed that out specifically in a previous Bumblecast, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get into the actual action. We continue to see Cream's map get more and more tragic as it goes along, as certain places end up falling to the Zombot hordes. How many more places will end up falling before we are able to figure out exactly how to stop this virus? As Sonic tangles with the Zombot Shadow, he does his best to kind of quip and joke, but it's become very apparent that Sonic's joking nature is starting to try to mask his fear, as he ends up in more and more desperate situations. Shadow believed that since he was the ultimate life form, since he had a metabolism that was made to fight off disease and infection, that was what he was created for. I think he believed that he was capable of overcoming this virus, that he did not have to run like Sonic in order to kind of burn through this virus, but obviously that was not the case, as he ended up succumbing fairly quickly when he was in the midst of a Zombot horde. Sonic does his best in order to escape from the Zombot Shadow, but the Zombot Shadow seems to be fairly stronger than the regular run-of-the-mill Zombot, showing that if you have an increased strength, that you become a Zombot with increased strength. It doesn't deplete your abilities, and the Zombot Shadow seems a little bit more aggressive than the regular kind as well. Luckily, this Zombot doesn't seem to be able to implement Shadow's hover shoes, which means that Sonic is at least able to be a little bit faster than this creature. So Sonic, feeling a little bit overwhelmed, calls out to Rouge that, hey, is it loaded up? The last of the civilians who they were able to save are loaded up, but when you put that in comparison to the hordes that have come through, they only were able to save so many people. But Rouge hops in the truck, starts driving people out of there, while Omega stays behind in order to crush as many Zombots as possible to kind of scratch that itch of destroying Eggman robots that he has. Unfortunately, the Zombot Shadow, still being a very weird entity, one that branches off from the norm, continues to pursue the civilian truck, almost as if it knows that the survivors are on it. So Sonic does his best in order to catch up to the Zombot Shadow and redirect him away from the truck. But it still continues to, battle hard and fight onward and just kind of make things even more worse, showing that, The Shadow Zombot is just really aggressive and a bit much. And while, Omega takes no qualms with taking down the Zombot Shadow, which is kind of goes against his norm in the Archie comics, where he didn't really want to fight Shadow. This version of Omega kind of carries off from his more aggressive nature in certain situations. Omega has kind of been seen more as a by any means necessary kind of entity, and that he sticks with Shadow because it's more of a convenience in crushing Eggman than anything else, which I know a lot of people take issue with. I feel like Ian got a few notes from Sega, or has seen things in certain games that kind of steered him towards these directions, because in a lot of in his past writings he didn't go this route. Omega was a little bit more sympathetic towards Shadow's plight in certain situations and showed a little bit more care in terms of that. So there's definitely been a shift in how Ian thinks about these relationships and how these characters interact, and the development that they've had during the course of the games, which I feel that we need a little bit more insight, because we don't know what the development he felt these characters had. But I'm kind of becoming an apologist for his writing in certain terms because of all the backlash I've seen because of certain scenes. Unfortunately, as Omega and Sonic continue to battle the hordes, eventually the Zombot Shadow manages to actually damage Omega, basically almost destroying his body. And Sonic tries his best in order to try and appeal to Shadow, saying, look, this is your friend, you're mind controlled, you're better than this, you're obviously a bit more different than the regular run-of-the-mill Zombot, but it's no use. The Zombot Shadow continues to just be this entity of destruction. And Sonic asks for a hasty retreat, but they continue to be overwhelmed, only to be saved by the last minute by Silver and Tails. And man, just look at Sonic's face when they come in and ask him, hey, look, we're giving you a path, run out of here. The tornado is just outside the city, meet us there after you've run off the infection. Sonic looks tired, he looks exhausted, he's just overwhelmed by everything that has happened, with Tails only just managing to save Omega's head, which means that at least he has some form of his processes there. But man, to have seen Omega destroyed to such a degree, that is insane. And as Tails and Silver try to make their way out of the city, the Zombot Shadow continues to try to pursue them like a relentless entity just out for blood. Like, this thing is so aggro, it's unbelievable. Like the boss monster. And as they fly away, I didn't put it in here, but the Zombot Shadow just stares at them with death in its eyes. It is surreal. But we managed to cut back to Restoration HQ, where Sonic is kind of waiting outside because they want to make sure he can walk a path through the HQ without bumping into anyone and potentially changing them, which, is such a downer in terms of Sonic's, personality, because, he makes easy connections. He's able to joke around, he, bump into people friendly, jokingly, he's one of those kinds of people. And the fact that he has to walk on eggshells around others, you see a lot of that throughout all of this. You see how the toll it kind of takes on his psyche. As Cream calls him in, she's still trying her best to act perky, chipper, and cheerful, but, when she talks about the loss of Chocola Chow and Cheese, it's obvious it weighs very heavy upon her. She's keeping busy and doing her best in order to, bring people snacks and stuff and trying to cheer them up because they have so many refugees. There's not enough room for all these people. There's not enough supplies. People are scared. People are sad. They don't know what to do. There's nothing they can do. There is so much fear in the air. What do you do? What can be done? There's nothing but loss and despair. After hell, they've already been through the ringer with Eggman's initial invasion. Things got even worse this time around. But no, Cream is trying her best, and Sonic goes to meet with Amy. Amy naturally is busy trying her best to, route evacuations, route supplies, get everyone set and safe, and making sure things go as smoothly as possible. While Sonic meets up with Rouge to see how she's doing, Rouge is kind of bitter about the whole situation. She told Shadow to run, but he was too stubborn, and she's kind of trying to shift the blame away from her sadness. She's trying to shift away from her sadness by just lying into, that was his own fault. It's what he chose. But it's obvious that it took a bit of an emotional toll on her to see someone she cares about just be lost like this. The last person you think you'd have to worry about would be Shadow. Meanwhile, Sonic meets up with Amy, and they both pretty much recount how tired they are at this point, with Sonic constantly having to run around, not really being able to get any sleep or rest, with Amy constantly coordinating things and doing her best in order to get people safe, and all this different stuff going on with her controlling everything now that Knuckles has stepped down. It is not fun times, especially when some of the various drop ships start to kind of just drop off the map. They stop reporting. They stop turning in. And it's just, where is Echo 3, basically? Where is this one ship that was supposed to be doing a drop in this city that was supposed to be safe, showing that they lost another city without even knowing it? And Sonic can't even comfort Amy at this point. Now, what can he do? He's not involved with the restoration. He can't even just put a comforting hand on her. There's nothing he can do at this point. He's a liability, and he's just lost for the most part. And the Chaotix, the detectives that they are, kind of point things out. They question, they're glad to see that Sonic is safe, but they do question if he should even be here. And you can tell, I love the way it's depicted in the art that Sonic is doing his best to keep at a good length from others. But they do question, look, you okay to be here? You haven't slept in a while. You gotta keep your wits about you, man. But Sonic kind of brushes this off. Yeah, I can afford a few naps here and there, but can only do so much before the infection spread. I'll meet up with Tails to kind of figure things out as the Chaotix head off to possibly try and find Charmy and help for certain people out, which I kind of hope they don't find Charmy, all things considered. Meanwhile, in Tails' lab, Sonic kind of talks about the fact that Silver came from this future that seemed to be covered in this metallic substance. They kind of question if maybe that's what that was, the metal virus. And Silver agrees. His mission ended up being the same in trying to save what's going on. However, there were no life forms, there were no people around, there were no zombots around, which really does beg the question, what happened? Where did all the zombots go? Why did Silver not meet any of the hordes during his time back in the future? That's really a mystery that might very well need to be solved, and a clue as to what they need to do in order to get these people back to normal. Omega seems to be okay for the most part. Tails will try to rebuild his body, but Eggman's technology tends to be a little bit on the weird and kooky side, so he'll try his best in order to build Omega up from the ground up for the most part. But Sonic kind of thinks about all the close calls they've been having, and they really need a plan. They really need a win because it seems like they're really losing ground. So Tails has come up with this device in order to kind of monitor Sonic's biometrics, figure out why Sonic's speed and running ability is able to combat the virus, and using that data they might be able to figure out a way in order to push that back from everyone. They might be able to route it into a way that's able to just recede it from others to some degree. At least that's Tails' hopes. It's a dicey plan, but hopefully they're able to figure things out. We also have the fact that Tails wants to get to his lab in Central City. That way he's able to get the data a little bit better. He has the equipment that he needs. But while Tails wants to get out there without hopefully running into any of Eggman's forces, Silver decides that he'll go along and try to help out. Although Silver has kind of become an asset because his attack power, kind of relies on not touching people. So the question is raised if he'll end up being called to someplace else. But they want to try their best in order to coordinate everything and possibly find a good cure. So, Sonic will run out, try to stay optimistic, get to Tails' lab, and maybe they'll be able to get that data that they need. Speaking of which, Dr. Starline has kind of been reading up on potential ways in order to keep the Zombot horde in check. And he ends up reading about the Lost World Project and of the Zeti with the ability to control badniks and robotic devices through the use of their minds, these electromagnetic powers. And Starline realizes that possibly the Zeti might be the key in order to keep this Zombot horde, this metal virus, in their control. Now, the question is raised, will the Zeti actually be a willing participant in all of this? Or will Starline find out the hard way that some things are harder to control than others? A really tense issue, a lot of moving parts, really emotional stakes just ramping up as we go along. It's really getting desperate out there. And you gotta really wonder what will be the key in order to stop this. Will it end up being a team up in the end between Tails and Dr. Starline? Or will Starline just make things worse by involving these entities in all of this? Just gonna have to wait and see. And Sonic's becoming increasingly more tired. And being tired causes more mistakes. And when you're the fastest thing alive, being able to think in a split second is crucial. Tell me your thoughts and theories in the comment section below. How did you feel about this issue? And where do you think we'll go from here on out? How bad do you think it's going to get before it gets better? These are the questions. If you liked this video, leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below. Subscribe and hit the bell icon, that way you never miss out on another Sonic the Hedgehog IDW comic review. I'll bring them to you as quickly as possible. Next one up is the second issue of Tangle and Whisper, so stick around until I bring that out. And if you want to find me on social media, just Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I am everywhere for better or for worse. And until the next video, just remember that a crisis can be a scary thing. Sometimes you lose hope. Sometimes you give in to fear. But as long as you keep moving forward, he'll be able to find that light at the end of the tunnel, that hope that seems to constantly be lost. Until next time, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I think it's time for bed. Bye-bye.